This week's episode of the Alpha Nerds podcast is brought to you by Sponch, scientifically formulated to lessen the weight of your sins.
Welcome to another episode of the Alpha Nerds podcast, the podcast that's rated number one in at least one of the many, many universes, just probably not this one. I'm Pete.
I'm Bart.
And every week we talk about one thing in the one thing that we like, book, movie, TV show, song, music, group, whatever. And it starts with one letter of the alphabet, and this week the letter is R.
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 Regals, Royals, Renegades, Rebels. You know the Rebels.
Yes.
Nothing?
Well, I was going to say Rebel Alliance, but you went and chose, like, the worst version of Rebels, but whatever.
Hey, we won a basketball thing back in the 90s.
Oh, you didn't blow up a Death Star, though, did you?
No, who has? One kid from Tatooine and, Lando Calrissian, and I guess if you count the Star Killer, then there's like a third guy. Anyways, hi, folks.
So every week we have 5 honorable mentions that we would like to talk about, but we can only choose one. So Bart, why don't you kick us off?
All right. So first off, just letter R is a wealth of like good franchises. Like I had to cut some
so
off.
Many good things.
So let's start off this with probably my weakest franchise, which is Reign of Fire. Pete, have you ever watched Reign of Fire?
I did, I think, twice.
It's a 90s like action movie. The theory is dragons have come and like taken over the planet. And so we have Matthew McConaughey with a shaved head and a giant beard, Christian Bale, and his best friend Gerard Butler trying to kill off all the dragons. Because as many as they've killed, they found that they're all females. So they're guessing there's one male, and it's probably just bigger than the rest of them.
And they're right.
It's so good. Like, that is the best cast bad movie that's ever existed. It's one of those, like, we have, like, your casting director, like, nailed, like, very good actors who are going to be successful for a long time. For this. Yeah. That movie's so good. Like, I just love him being the one American dude in the, like, amongst all the British people who are like, we got to fight to survive. And he's like, no, we got to start killing things.
What I really like is how when they first awaken the dragons, it's not like some deep subterranean exploration. Like, there's no, like, science gone wrong thing. It's a bunch of coal miners, and they're like, oh, shit, there's a dragon. And then all of them die. And then the dragons fly out of the cave hole and just, well, that's it for humanity. Pack it up.
That's great. I love it so much. Next, we have one of the best ones on my list, which is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes!
Gosh, Indiana Jones is just such a good series. Like,
it's good because it's also so terrible.
Like, Indiana Jones is the best example of if you give George Lucas the opportunity to do something about something he loves, he makes something great.
Yes.
Indiana Jones is just old 40s adventure films and like little shorts that he took and mutated and made this whole thing. And people rip on Temple of Doom, and Temple of Doom's great. Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade are better. Temple of Doom's awesome.
It really is, even though, wasn't it technically a prequel to Raiders?
Yes, it's the prequel nobody realizes is a prequel because he just didn't want to do Nazis again, so he had to make it a prequel. Gosh, like Raiders is so.
You could make a sequel and just like have it take place 5 years later. Like that's not a hard thing to do. It's like, hey, isn't it great being in the year 1950 where there's no Nazis? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like as we've seen, Indy works best in a pre-atomic world. Like,
yeah,
he's around as the same time as the first computers. But having him in a pre-computer, basically a pre-science world.
Yeah, basically.
A pre-modern science world. Like, but Raiders is just legendary.
So much fun.
So what?
Just so much fun.
Oh, yeah. Next up, so the same company that worked on that, George Lucas's company, ILM, they did the special effects for another movie called The Rocketeer.
The Rocketeer is a movie that gets unfairly shit on.
Dude, I don't know why.
A lot.
Like, because my dad was like, he was a kid and he was born in 1947, so he grew up with like old radio shows and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when The Rocketeer came out the same summer as The Shadow and The Phantom, he loved those. And I love those because he loved them, because it was all just like grit and vigor and punch a Nazi in the face and just awesome.
Yeah, what more can you ask for?
But The Rocketeer is based on a comic book, and the comic book's really good. And they've done a bunch of like modern takes on that because they've kept it going. Just, so good. The Rocketeer, if you've never watched it, go take a look. It has Timothy Dalton just hamming it up as like an evil version of who's the guy who played Robin Hood in the old films?
Oh, Errol Flynn?
Yeah, he's like an evil Errol Flynn. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Gosh, we're going over time today already, and I don't care.
Yeah, whatever. It's our podcast. We do what we want.
Yep. Third up on my list, or fourth actually, is Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Nice.
The
always a good pick.
That was probably the first musical I ever watched in my life. And it was definitely the musical I watched when I was way too young. Because I remember watching Rocky Horror Picture Show. It came on WB, and like the middle picture things would be like, and now here's Tim Curry in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I'd be like, wait, if he's Tim, then why is he wearing like lady clothes? But yeah, I watched that thing way too young.
Yeah.
But it's like everybody's heard the Time Warp. Like Rocky Horror Pictures is great.
Right.
And then my last one is Rampage, the old video game that came out in the arcades and eventually NES and PlayStation and all that.
Love that game so much.
My first Rampage game was Rampage 2 World Tour, where the concept is the three characters from the first game, Ralph, Lizzie, and George, were captured, set in Tokyo, London, and New York. You're three new monsters who have to go out and break them out, and then you can play as them to break out their other friends. Then eventually you go to the moon, kill the aliens, break out their monster that they have hidden, and then just keep destroying the planet.
Yay!
Wreck the planet. And that game has a really good sense of humor to it, but they're making a movie. The movie looks bad.
The movie's supposed to be bad. Like, at what point are you looking at the trailer? First of all, freaking Dwayne Johnson is the leading role. So already just like, okay, this is going to be like way more silly than, way more silly than quality.
Yeah. Okay. But like what they should have done was basically do a I want it to get the Lego movie treatment. I want it to be all CGI. You can still have Dwayne Johnson doing like his thing. You can still have like whoever else you want in there, but it should be a like reporter who's trying to figure out what went wrong, and he's talking to George, who's in his big cage in New York, about like why Ralph, and Lizzie just started breaking everything.
Dude, George shouldn't talk.
I'd be okay with it. Like nobody else thinks he talks, but he'll talk to the reporter, so you get like the dark backstory.
You're gonna have Michigan J. Frog that shit?
But yeah, I think you could do it very well. It's a comparison to a thing I'll make later in the podcast, but yeah, I think you could actually do a Rampage movie, like make it silly and funny and for kids, and have it be good.
Nice.
Just don't have them eat people. That's all you gotta do. Just don't have them eat people.
Yeah.
But Pete, what's your 5 this week?
Okay, so first up, one that's very close to me and Bart's hearts, Rex Ronan, Experimental Surgeon.
Rex Ronan Tertiary Turban is the greatest game ever made.
You got a problem with the X-Men? Call Logan. You need a catchy line for your business? Use a cool slogan.
Man, like it's one of those I've never forgotten about Rex Ronan. Like I've never like fully forgotten it. It's just like, but it's like that thing in the drawer that you see and you're like, hey, this thing.
Okay, so I just now realized I haven't explained at all what Rex Ronan Experimental Surgeon is,
Yeah.
And so anybody who doesn't know what it is or hasn't watched the continued, guys,
thinks I'm absolutely insane. So, this is a video game. Can't remember the system that it played on. Okay, and like I'm not even gonna check that. I'm just gonna be like, okay, I believe you.
No, it's
but
Super Nintendo.
It's basically like if Crest made a video game.
Yes.
Because you're a guy that shrinks down and enters somebody's body through the mouth and immediately just starts using this like antibody flamethrower against like all the bad shit in there.
Yeah, you're using a like laser gun to take out plaque and like virus, like tiny robots that were put in there by tobacco companies, and it's an anti-tobacco video game, but it's hilarious to laugh at.
Yeah, and the first weapon you get before any upgrades is easily the best one.
Yeah,
like the upgradable weapons just all make it shit.
But if you've never seen the Continue, guys, just type in Rex Ronan Experimental Surgeon into YouTube and just watch that video. This is just
it's
like
great.
5 minutes of just the best thing.
Yeah. So next up, I have Rooster Teeth, the now pretty impressive studio that made things like Red vs. Blue, which is still in production. I was surprised to see. They also make a show called Ruby, spelled RWBY, and that stands for like red, white, blue, or red, white, black, and yellow.
Yeah, and that is
that's like a 100% CG show, but it's actually like it's surprisingly good. Like it is full of your typical anime tropes, but that makes it even better.
Yeah, it's self-aware. I've actually never watched any of their stuff. I keep getting them confused with Rocket Jump.
Oh,
but,
yeah, I can see that.
There was a dude, so they're from Austin, Texas. There's a dude
Yeah.
I used to work with who actually went to high school with them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, they're a bunch of like really funny people. And they also have a webcomic that I'm not sure is still happening, but I have a couple of books of theirs. So, I got to meet them at Comic-Con once. That was a bunch of really nice guys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Also, like, one girl that's got, like, a whole bunch of tattoos down her arms, and she's, like, super awesome as well.
Nice.
Yeah. After that, I got Regular Show.
Yeah!
Cartoon by J.G. Quintel.
Oh, I love that cartoon.
Starring a blue jay, a raccoon, a gumball machine, a yeti, a ghost that high-fives people, some sort of troll monster, and
Talking lollipop.
a lollipop.
Hey,
Yes.
that Yeti is Luke Skywalker, and he is amazing at it.
Yes, he is. Okay, so the Yeti's name is Skips, and he's called Skips because he skips everywhere. Like, his legs are just like everywhere he's going. And nobody like calls him on it because he's also like super jacked. Like he's easily the strongest person in the show. And he's voiced by by Mark Hamill, and it's amazing.
Favorite one-word joke in that show?
Dude, there's so many.
Ham-boning!
I was actually thinking that one. Yes. What, you're gonna mug me?
The fact that you can do it so much faster than I can. But yeah.
After that, I have Razzle, which is spelled RASL, and that stands for Romance at the Speed of Light.
Yeah, fantastic comic by Jeff Smith,
So
same dude who
good.
made Bone.
Yeah, so good. So this is kind of like it's sort of an alternate reality sci-fi that has alternate realities in it, but it basically goes along the lines of like if Tesla sort of pursued all of his scientific endeavors, which one of them was the possibility of parallel universes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the laser pigeon road went. I wish I could have seen it.
Yeah, let's
But
go to that
whatever.
dimension.
Yeah, laser pigeons. If people aren't getting that joke, it's because Nikola Tesla, while working in solitude, was basically completely infatuated with this pigeon who he was convinced was beaming ideas directly into his head with eye lasers.
Yeah,
laser pigeons.
He went kind of nutty there towards the end. But it's a Razzle is it's a film noir book. If you like old detective stories and that, like, I'm being betrayed, but I don't know by who, and we have to find Jerry because he has the thing. Like, it's fantastic.
Yes, and it's just such a good read, and there's a lot of really, really unnerving images in it, because it basically shows what happens when two realities end up, like, sort of passing through each other, and it's just nightmare sauce. But
I forgot what happens. I trust you, though.
yeah, shit merges together, like living things merge together, and because they can't maintain that new form, it basically just dies.
Wow.
Like there were two dogs, like, just made into one.
Ugh.
And they, like, their skulls were merged together, but they pointed in different directions, and it was just, oh god. Ugh. Jeff Smith was good at drawing that shit.
Yeah, the man's really good artist.
Yep. And my last of the Honorable Five is Ray Bradbury.
Yeah!
Yes. Now, I've read not nearly as much of Ray Bradbury's work as I would like to.
Yeah.
But what I'm really a fan of his is basically just saying fuck you to censorship, and basically the idea that technology can surpass the human creativity. Like, not a fear of technology, but basically saying that there are certain things that only, like, a human brain should be trusted with.
Yeah. Well, he wrote some, if you've never read The Illustrated Man, that is a, like, you get, like, elements of, like, the Twilight Zone-y feeling that was going around that time.
Oh, yeah.
Illustrated Man's really good, and it has Rocket Man in it, which is the basis for the song Rocket Man. Like,
yes.
There was that time in the 70s where it's like, oh, science fiction authors are so famous, pop singers are going to make songs based on those sci-fi books. Like, you'll never hear, and now Lady Gaga with her new track, The Martian.
Yes. Also, anybody listening to this, go on YouTube, click on the search bar, type in the words, fuck me, Ray Bradbury.
Trust him.
I'm going to say that one more time because I'm going to let you write it down. Fuck me, Ray Bradbury. And there's going to be an uncensored version. I want you to click on that one.
Done by Rachel Bloom, who is a really good comedian. She actually won a Golden Globe at the last ones. Or at the last ones or the one was before for My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she is just insanely. You know who? What else she was in that you, like, have seen, but I don't think you knew it was her?
What's that?
The Britannic skit where they're trying to get Brian to kiss that one girl.
Oh my god, that was her?
She's the other friend. Silence, Bridge Troll!
Oh my god. Ah, damn.
Yeah, Rachel Bloom's.
We haven't heard from Britannic in forever.
They're SNL writers now, that's why.
Oh, SNL. Go back to YouTube. We loved you there.
Like, SNL, the worst thing that SNL is doing is that they're only putting, like, the same people that they always put in the skits. Like, they need to mix it up more. They have Mikey Day working for them, who is an absolutely hilarious improv comedian.
Yeah.
And he's just not on. It's one of those, come on, you have Mikey Day and the Britannic guys, and they're not on? What?
Ugh, just terrible. So, now that we're about 20 minutes in, and we haven't even gotten to our main topics, let's get started with our main topics.
Yeah. I'm going overtime this week, and I don't feel guilty. You know why?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. So, all right, go ahead, Bart.
All right, so first up, I have Ready Player One. It's a fan.
Yes!
Oh, this book's so good. Written in 2011 by Ernest Cline. Well, written before that, but published 2011. Written by a guy named Ernest Cline. And Pete, because of how much they reference trivia in this book, we're going to have a little trivia challenge.
Yay!
Now, unlike what I usually do with trivia, where I just put it in my show notes, I actually kept these hidden from Pete, so he actually doesn't know how many he's going to be asked or what they're going to be asked about. I will say that about a sixth of the way down, or like 6/10 of the way down, it gets to absolute BS questions. So
Okay.
questions I don't expect you to know the answer to.
Oh, you're such a good friend.
I am. Pete, what year did the Oasis release?
Shit. Hang on.
Good start.
2040?
2012.
2012?
Because they had to be successful before.
The contest was 2040. Yeah, sorry.
What video game had the first ever Easter egg?
That was Adventure.
For
the... Was that the Atari?
Yes, it was. Atari 2600. Funeral scene in Interactive Invitation is based on the same funeral scene in what movie?
The same funeral scene. Hang on. What?
The funeral scene in Anurac's Invitation is based on the scene in what movie?
Was it Heather's?
It was Heather's.
Yes!
What did Parzival wear to Ogg's birthday party?
Let's see. It was a suit. But it was a certain suit. Fuck. I remember what he ordered to drink. I don't remember the suit.
It was Buckaroo Banzai's suit.
Oh.
What does IOI?
That's right.
What does IOI stand for?
Let's see. That was innovated operation. No, that's not right. Fuck you. I don't know. Innovative Operations Incorporated?
Innovative Online Industries.
Ah, that's right.
Parzival first gained his experience by killing what type of creature?
Kobolds.
What's the name of the lich?
Oh. Fuck! Damn it! Ah! Hang on. Fuck! First of all, he was a demi-lich. Not a full lich.
And you're not.
Your question's invalid.
So you want me to take away one of the ones you got right? Or no.
No. Hang on. Fuck. Name of the lich. God damn it.
Just Jeopardy.
I remember literally everything else.
Okay, I will give you 5 seconds from this point.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Acererak.
Acererak. God damn it.
How long does it take to drive all the way across the Oasis?
Assuming you're going at light speed, 8 hours?
10 hours, really close.
10 hours.
In real life, what was the Captain Crunch whistle used for?
Oh, that in real life?
Yep.
It was a cereal prize, and it was just the Captain Crunch bosun whistle. And oh no, it was used as the original phone hack to get basically free long distance.
Yep, also known as freaking.
Yeah.
What two ships are kept on the asteroid base?
2 ships. Okay, first you got the X-Wing,
Yep.
and then you got the Bebop from Cowboy Bebop.
Nope. One more shot.
Oh, no. Don't, Dido and Shoto had the Bebop.
Yep.
Parzival had the Serenity.
Yeah. He called it the Vonnegut, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Firefly. What is the name of the test that's kept in the Tyrell Corporation building?
That's the Voight-Kampff test.
Correct. What's the highest possible score on Pac-Man?
64,010?
3,333,360. How many treasures are in the trophy case on Zork?
I can't remember.
19.
I'll shoot at it. Okay, never mind.
And what is the device that allows the Ecto-88 to travel through solid matter?
Oh, that's the flux capacitor.
Nope. The flux capacitor lets travel through time. That is the oscillation overthruster.
oscillation over thruster. Well, DJ.
So, that was an excellent part of this podcast. But that's a good chunk of the book is just weird 1980s sci-fi trivia. So it was written in 2011 by Ernest Cline. He did a lot of spoken word poetry at in Austin, Texas, where he lives. He wrote Fanboys. He wrote a spoken word poetry CD called The Geek Wants Out, which is where I first ran into him, which is an absolute fantastic CD. Go get it. Armada, which is a book that came out after Ready Player One, and he also wrote he wrote a script for a Buckaroo Banzai, which is an old 80s comedy action film.
Basically, if Batman was also a rock star.
Yeah, pretty much. He wrote a script for the sequel to that movie, because at the end credits it says Buckaroo Banzai will return in Buckaroo Banzai versus the World Crime League, and he didn't.
Yep.
He didn't return at all.
Lies!
So, the basic premise of the book is the world has been living for 30 years with this extremely highly advanced virtual reality world. You put on goggles, you put on a pair of gloves, and you can interact with anything you want.
I got one trivia question for you real quick.
Go.
What does Oasis stand for?
Online, anyone smells independently stupid.
Close.
How was that close?
You spelled Oasis. It's ontologically anthropomorphic sensory immersion system.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten that one.
Yep.
Yeah, not so clever when you don't have the answers in front of you. But the Oasis has been
Well,
around for...
no, I don't fucking... I don't have it in front of me. I just remember it.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So we have 30 years of this system being out, and corporations have, like, instead of having an office building, somebody works from their house, and they just go into the Oasis, and they log in at your planet and just work there. All your tech support's gone there, just everything. It's become what we call the internet, they call the Oasis. It's where all human data lies within the Oasis somewhere. And after these 30 years, the guy who owns the company that runs the Oasis dies. His name is James D. Halliday. And Halliday puts out this video called The Invitation that's basically spells out his rules for everything I own is going to go to whoever completes my Easter egg hunt. Because Easter eggs are little special things in video games that are hidden that if you can find them, like, it was put there by the developers. The first Easter egg was actually to credit the creator of the video game because the company just, no, it is an Activision game. Your name doesn't go on it.
Glory be to Warren Robinette.
So Warren Robinette put that in Adventure, where if you picked up a key in the maze and ran to this specific off-white or off-gray pixel, you would go to a room that just says designed by Warren Robinette or programmed by Warren Robinette.
Now, a lot of people think that an old Atari era game like Adventure would be like, oh, so simple compared to today's games. Bart, you remember when I watched you play Adventure for the first time?
You mean when we specifically, because we read this book, tried to find the Easter egg?
Yep.
And we kept getting killed by the bat because the bat is BS and random?
Fucking bat. God damn it.
Yeah, no, screw that.
Asshole bat.
The only way to actually get through the game is because if you have the sword, the bat runs away from you. If you don't, he runs over and kills you. So The only way to get through it is to carry the sword for as long as you can, get the key, and then start juggling the key and the sword until you get to the room where you can go through the gate. It's BS. Huh. But, so Halliday sets up this contest. Whoever can find the Easter egg I put in the Oasis, this gigantic galaxy-sized video game, will get billions and billions of dollars in everything I'm worth in my entire company.
Yeah. And that's not an exaggeration. The Oasis is literally galaxies big.
Yeah. So your main character is a school kid called Wade, and it's him telling his side of the story. And his main antagonist here is IOI, Innovative Online Industries, who are basically the ISP for the entire world, who are trying to take it over because if they own the Oasis and the lines that connect to it, they own everything. They own the planet.
Yep.
The cover says it's Willy Wonka meets the Matrix. Meh.
Yeah, there's some credit to that comparison.
Superficially, yes. It is somebody is plugged into a virtual reality and there is a contest that the winner gets what the owner has. But in Willy Wonka, you never knew that that was the actual prize. You just thought it was a lifetime supplies of chocolate. And in The Matrix, it was different. Like, superficially, yes, but you take a look at it for 2 seconds, it does match up.
Yeah. It's more about, like, you know how, like, we're basically battling for net neutrality again?
Right now.
It's basically, if that was an action movie, you'd be in the ballpark.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Another thing that kind of did this, or at least the virtual reality part, is a book called Snow Crash. This is so much better than Snow Crash. Snow Crash isn't without its merits. There are parts that are really, really good. There are interesting character designs and interesting concepts, but that book gets dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a whole section where it goes from your main character who's talking about language and ancient history, and then it cuts back to another main character, and it's actually fun and actiony and good. Then it'll cut back to the language stuff, and you're like, it's boring. And then when that actually connects, you get a full chapter and a half of that dude talking about the stupid language stuff that we just went over, and I don't need to hear again or ever in my entire life. Thank you for that. Ready Player One is what we're talking about right now.
Yes.
So the title for Ready Player One is taken from an old video game. Pete, do you know which video game?
My dog has a guess, but I don't speak it. I don't speak Spanish. No, I don't know which one.
Black Tiger.
Oh, that's right. Originally called Black Dragon or Buraku Doragon.
You'd take that. I actually found that while I was researching this. They don't mention it in the book. They just say from the arcade games of his youth. But if I was looking up a video of Black Dragon to see what it actually looked like, or Black Tiger to see what it actually looked like, and it says Ready Player One around the top, and I'm like, whoa. The basic book, or the entirety of the book, is a love letter to the 1980s, because that's one of the things it said, is that your Halliday was obsessed with the 1980s, and a understanding of 1980s culture and like music, movies, TV shows is a key to solving the contest.
Yeah.
So the whole book's a love letter to the 1980s, and it's chock full of references. But Halliday himself is a love letter to geeks. Because Halliday is the geek who is obsessed and like kind of unbalanced, and just, if you gave like your standard nerd just all the power in the world, this is what would happen.
Pretty much. Also, his nickname means geek.
What's his nickname?
Anorak.
Wait, really?
Yeah. His crush called him Anorak because it's a British idiom which means geek or nerd.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And so he basically called his D&D character that, and he basically called his character that in any game he ever played ever, because it was basically his way to say, like, he's in on the joke.
Yeah, okay. But the book is just like I said, it has a lot of references. This thing is reference fruitcake. It is so packed full and dense that if you dropped it, it would burn a hole into the ground.
Ah, it's so wonderful.
The first chapter has 16. I counted. It is so pop music, genre films, TV shows, comic books, giant robot TV shows from Japan, arcade games, text adventures, platforming games, 1970s British comedians, educational cartoon shorts, tabletop role-playing games, fantasy films, remote burgers, Arthurian legend. Everything is in this book. It's so dense.
Yep.
And it even references early Ernie Klein's work on his poetry.
That's right, it does.
Because there's he starts to work for tech support, and then there's a whole Ernest Cline has a poem about that. They mention Airwolf. Ernest Cline has a poem about that. He mentions in a poem called The Geek Wants Out, the Buckaroo Banzai is the greatest effing film of all time.
Yes.
And he has 2 references in Buckaroo Banzai in here where I'm like, hey, I know you, cool guy. And there's a character who calls in while he's working for tech support called Pete.
Hot Rod 007.
No, it's not Rod.
No. Oh, sorry. Was it Hot Cock?
It was.
Hot Cock 007.
Yeah, and that's it's so good. But like, even though it's packed full of all those references to old technology shows, what have you, the modern world, like the stuff that's actually original to the book, is actually really interesting in and of itself. The fact that the Oasis glasses actually use lasers to burn the image straight to your eyes.
Sounds really dangerous, but, when you're working with fantasy, it's a one-line fix, where it's like, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
And then it's totally fine.
Well, there is a company that does things where it's they have projectors next to your eyes that go to a visor that has a bunch of mirrors on it, and then the image is made in your eyes because it's bouncing off the mirrors. It's crazy.
Huh. Nice.
You have stuff like that. You have the stacks of RVs that have been made by war refugees. The whole...
Well, not made by war refugees. It's because the area is totally overpopulated. So there's not enough land to go around. So they're like, okay, so let's take these things that technically shouldn't be called houses, and let's make them houses, and let's stack them on top of each other in these really precarious towers.
That I'm sure is fine.
It's fine. It's fine. We'll put some scaffolding up there. It's fine. It's fine.
There's an energy crisis. There's gun vending machines, which I thought was like really clever. They use solar throughout because there's supposed to be an energy crisis. So how are you powering all this technology?
Exactly.
His apartment, the setup for like the fact that his gaming rig is basically just his bed, and the fact that all he does is just go from his bed to the shower and then back to his bed and nothing else. That's his life.
Pretty much.
Which, how did he eat? I think he ate something like Soylent, but I can't remember.
No, it was basically just like he would order food to be delivered, and then his equipment would basically read whatever UPC code of the package he was eating, calculate the caloric intake, and then his exercise program would compensate.
Oh, okay.
So he basically ate just whatever, but for sake of keeping everything easy, it's probably mostly a paste.
Yeah. God, so gross. But I could see it as being his shampoo also being some kind of protein shake. Like that would make absolute sense to me. I'm like, okay, this is where we're headed.
Well, I mean, you can technically shampoo your hair with oatmeal, so...
Yes, you can, and cornstarch.
Yeah, there you go.
And even the characters, because Halliday had a partner who helped him make the Oasis and everything else, whose name is Ogden Norman? Or Ogden Morrow. Og and Halliday are references themselves to people like Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, or... references to Bill Gates. You can see some of that in there. This thing is just packed full of references and rich 1980s stuff. If you want to experience, go through this book, and then every time they mention a video game or music, look it up on YouTube and have it playing in the background while you're doing whatever you're doing.
Yep.
And
it's really
and sometimes you don't even catch the references. Like the They Might Be Giants reference when he says no one in the world ever gets what they want, and that is beautiful.
Yeah.
They never mentioned that They Might Be Giants. I was like, that's got to be a lyric for something. And then I looked it up, and I looked up the song, and I'm like, this song's really weird. Then I listened to it again. I'm like, why is the song so weird? Then I listened to it again. I'm like, this is the greatest song I've ever heard in my entire life. Gosh, but this book is just fantastic. And again, we've talked about the book, but we haven't actually said really anything that happens in it, which is good because go out and experience it yourself. And definitely read this book before you watch the movie.
It's worth reading. It's worth rereading. It's worth buying the audiobook because it's read by Will Wheaton.
Disagree.
It's not worth buying?
No, disagree. It's not worth listening to the audiobook. You know why?
Why?
Poser.
Ugh. And advertisements.
No, poser. No, not that Will Wheaton's a poser. Will Wheaton's not a poser. The way Will Wheaton pronounces...
No, I mean the way he pronounces it.
Poser. He pronounces it poseur.
And he pronounces advertisements as advertisements.
Advertisements?
And
what
that
the frick?
Yeah, I don't...
What are you, from Canada? You spaceman?
I don't know.
Advertisement.
Will Wheaton, if by some weird-ass miracle /
listening to this.
glitch in the Matrix you're hearing this, you pronounce those
words weird, dude.
He's not listening to no. He's not listening.
In some alternate reality, he's listening to it.
Yeah, he is, and he doesn't. He was not famous Will Wheaton, so he actually doesn't know why he's like being insulted. But yeah, I disagree with the audiobook. I actually don't like how he pronounces certain words, and then when I was reading the book, I like said it in my head that way for a split second. I was like,
okay,
and I don't like that conflict. So I would say avoid the audiobook.
Subjective.
Read it yourself.
Subjective.
Yes.
I liked reading it. I also liked having Will Wheaton read it to me.
But definitely read the book before March, because March 30th is when the movie comes out.
Yes. Speaking of which, Bart, have you seen the newest trailer?
Doing my trailer abstinence.
Ugh.
So it's
just, I got goosebumps, man. It was so good.
So it's directed by Steven Spielberg, who is probably the best person to do it because he was actually making movies that are referenced in this at the time.
And he himself was referenced in it.
Yes.
Twice, I think.
But yeah, like Steven Spielberg is a fantastic director. Tintin, even though Tintin, some of the characters look kind of weird, Tintin's a fantastic movie. And it's on Netflix. Just showed up this month.
Nice.
It's written by Ernie Klein. The screenplay is by Ernie Klein and Zach Penn. And Zach Penn has done really good stuff. He did Men in Black. He did X-Men 2. He did The Avengers. He did Pacific Rim 2. He's done some not so good stuff.
What'd he do?
Suicide Squad. X-Men 3. Yeah, some not so good stuff.
Actually, Suicide Squad hurts more, so I'm gonna retract that first and make it a.
I'm glad somebody's listening to this in their car. But good news, the stunts, it's the same stunt coordinator that they had in Fury Road.
Yes!
He was saying on Twitter, he was like, okay, so it's not as actiony as Fury Road was, but if you like good action.
Yes.
Like, just wait and see. Another thing to say about the movie that I feel needs to be said after any adaptation of a property, it can't, won't, and should not be exactly like the book. There is no successful movie or TV show or really anything that was line for line exactly like the book.
Does any one of those even exist?
So High Fidelity comes very close. They made a couple changes. Your main character isn't British, and
kind of funny that the film is called High Fidelity and it's the closest to the book.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But High Fidelity gets really close. They changed it to where he's not British anymore. He's an American, and they changed it. There's a scene where he's talking about his love for the Beatles and how throughout all the dates that he's had and all the women he's loved in his life, the Beatles have been one thing it's been his band. It hasn't been one that he started listening to with somebody. It's been his band, and it'll stay his band forever.
Nice.
But they left that part out of the movie for some reason. But High Fidelity is still a fantastic movie, but it's about as close as it gets to making it exactly the same. Again, can't, won't, shouldn't be exactly like the book. It's going to change, like from what little screenshots I've seen, it already has changed. And I'm okay with that, because I'm not expecting exactly the same. I'm expecting a fun ride. And
Nice.
Spielberg, this is the first like jokey fun thing he's done since maybe Tintin? But no, Tintin was based on like legendary French comics, so there was like pressure from that.
Yeah.
Because the last thing he did was Warhorse, and the thing he did before that was Lincoln.
And then he's been doing a lot of drama.
Yeah.
What was the last jokey thing he did? Was it
Hook?
Tiny Toons?
Hook? Well, oh yeah, maybe that's why, because he burned himself out on those like WB 90s cartoons, which were fantastic.
They were. Oh my god. Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, Freakazoid, Pinky and the Brain.
You give me
all good.
You give me a little touch of that Freakazoid feel in a couple of the characters. I'm good. I'm fine.
Yep. Yep.
And then I have one random piece of trivia that I looked up, and that'll
Okay.
end mine. Ultraman, who is a character in the book, is 164 feet tall, and that is the exact same height as Mechagodzilla.
Nice.
Because Mechagodzilla and Ultraman are exactly 50 meters tall.
Right
Modern Godzilla is way taller. He's 120 to 150 meters. So that puts him at 389 feet, which towers over Gypsy Danger, the robot from Pacific Rim, who at 260 feet dwarfs Ultraman and Mechagodzilla and the Evangelion Evas, but is just dwarfed by modern Godzilla at 389 feet.
Yikes.
But yeah, this book's so good. I know I keep saying it like that. This book is so good. This book is well written, fast paced, has really interesting characters with good motivations. It's packed full of 1980s reference, which as a kid who grew up on VH1 and I love the 80s, just fits like my personality like a glove. It is excellent. If you haven't read it, go check it out. If you love the 1980s, go check it out. There's no reason not to. But that's all.
There's so many different ways they do dialogue too. They do it like at one point it's like basically a text message sort of thing and other things like that. It's just so it's so variously written.
Yes.
And that's one thing that really keeps it interesting.
Yeah, it's an outstanding book. I love it. It was good to like go reread it again because I read it once in 2011 and I thought I remembered a whole lot about it, and I did, but it was good to go revisit it and get those like little things I missed. I missed. Absolutely fantastic. And that's me. That's Ready Player One.
Yeah. All right. So
But that's all the time we have for this week, so we gotta
You bastard. Okay. So my topic this week is Rick and Morty. Yeah. Anybody who's listening to this probably knows pretty much everything there really is to know about Rick and Morty concerning, like, you know, basically how the storyline goes and everything like that.
Give us a rundown.
Because it's very rewatchable.
Yeah, but give us a basic rundown.
So, basically, it's the story of this mad scientist type who goes on crazy, wacky, also kind of mind-breaking space adventures with a young boy sidekick who's basically just there to gawk at everything and be all like, oh, wow, this is amazing! And, you know, so it's basically Doctor Who, but Doctor Who's an alcoholic.
Yeah, that's a good summation of it.
Yeah. A little bit of Doctor Who, a little bit of, what was it? Sliders, I think, was that show? Something? Anyway, Rick and Morty, created by Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon. Dan Harmon also does this show called Harmon Quest, where he plays not exactly D&D, but it's basically D&D with a bunch of other nerds, and every episode there's like a special guest star. Last season, the season finale, the special guest was Nathan Fillion.
Ooh.
Yeah, right?
Dan Harmon, also the writer for Community.
Yes. So, originally, it's based on a video that Roiland made for Channel 101, which is a monthly short film festival in Los Angeles. And it was basically just making fun of Back to the Future, where it was called The Real Adventures of Doc and Marty, which is M-A-H-T-Y. So not Marty, it's Matty.
Nice.
So it's basically, like, the short is basically an episode of Rick and Morty. And because it was, like, really well written, and it had, like, sort of raunchy humor, and was also kind of nonsensical, and it appealed to, like, kind of a stoner audience, Adult Swim is like, hey, give us 11 more of that. And Justin Roiland's like, I'm sorry, I can't see you I can't see you past these huge dollar signs in my eyes. Nah, Justin Roiland is actually, like, a really good guy. He's not, like, he's not motivated by money, and he actually fought very hard to get people on his project, you know, proper compensation for their union and everything. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, he's a really good guy.
Nice. He's like, hey, like, animation's pumping out good people.
Yeah, and, like, you know, he really fought tooth and nail to get his crew unionized, and, like, he started to have, like, a couple of breakdowns where, you know, shit wasn't moving as fast as it should have been, and it's like, no, I need to get my guys, like, first of all, they need to get the benefits that they are working very hard for, and they deserve them. And they deserve, like, you know, an increase in pay, because this is Los Angeles and everything is fucking expensive. I had to put my house under a second mortgage to buy a loaf of bread last week. Anyway, I live in a cardboard I live in a refrigerator box, and the rent is outrageous. So, it was picked up by Adult Swim, and they changed it to, like, because of licensing reasons, and Back to the Future is still owned by 20th Century Fox, I think.
Universal.
Universal, that's right. So it's still owned by Universal, so they can't call it The Real Adventures of Doc and Marty, because, copyright's a bitch.
Yeah, it is.
So, Doc and Marty became Rick and Morty.
And if anybody wants to watch those early sketches, just go on YouTube, because they're still there.
They are, and they're hilarious. Yeah. It's not exactly going to be as smart as Rick and Morty.
No, or as well animated. It's going to look like garbage.
Yeah, hot garbage. But it's still funny, and it's probably one of those things that's funnier if you watch it with someone. Yeah. So there are a few fan favorite episodes, like the recurring intergalactic cable episodes, because they have a lot looser dialogue, and they even made it like kind of self-aware, where it's like, oh, it looks like intergalactic cable has kind of a different writing to it. It's like, yeah, it's almost got a looser, almost improvisational feel to it, and it's basically just Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon just like riffing with each other. It's like they left the tape recorder on, and they're just coming up with stupid ideas for shows.
And that's good. Like, that gives you a good break from, like, trying to write a script.
It really is. And, like, the audio track even has them, like, cracking up, like, at the end of the joke and everything. So it's just, it's really fun.
Nice.
And, yeah, it's really fun to watch.
What's your favorite episode, Pete? Like, I never asked you.
That's a really tough question. I honestly don't think I could tell you what my favorite episode would be.
Oh, mine's the universe in a battery, the multi-universe battery.
Oh, the microverse.
The microverse battery. I love that one.
Yeah,
because that
actually brings me to my next point, which is they have an outstanding guest voice cast.
Seriously.
In this show. So the microverse battery episode, Stephen Colbert.
Yes, it was.
Awesome. They had David Cross voice another alien in another episode. Actually, I think that might have been one of my favorite episodes. The one where it was like simulation in a simulation, whatever.
Yeah. Speaking of simulation in a simulation, Nathan Fillion showed up to play a what's that species called? Yes.
Grothlomite.
Grothlamites, yeah.
Yeah, he played Crumbopulus Michael, I think. Yeah. So, if anybody's wondering why I'm taking these weird pauses, it's to demonstrate another point, and that is Rick's trademark burp talk. I'm taking drinks of soda right now.
Okay.
Just to kind of illustrate this point, where in order to get Rick's burp talk right, Justin Roiland actually drinks very cheap beer in the studio and tries to time the burps he tries to time his lines so that a burp basically just interrupts him, so it comes out like that. And so he basically just tries to do that, and he regards that whole process as gross.
Yeah, disgusting. Because it's like watered down too, isn't it?
It is watered down. So watered down shitty beer. So, you're at that point you're basically drinking deer piss. Just carbonated deer piss.
Oh man, that's my new band name too. That's the best part about all that.
Okay. Damn it. I was almost focused for a second. So, alright. Also, interesting little bit of trivia. Justin Roiland's very method when it comes to properly voicing certain characters. Now, when the character Rick is drunk, he doesn't just try and slur his words and sort of just do this and pretend he's drunk. No. turns out the magic number for getting drunk Rick is 4 shots of tequila.
Gosh, like, I feel bad for his liver. If it's still there.
Now, it's very firm that it's 4 shots of tequila, even though when he's 4 shots in, he wants to keep drinking tequila, and the entire production cast is like, no, don't drink anymore. We're not going to be able to get anything from you if you get any drunker.
Give me the bottle. Give it. Just drop it. Put it down.
And yeah, it's just hilarious. Like there are videos of like behind the scenes stuff where they're doing this and yeah, basically just trying to reason with a drunk Justin Roiland as to why he can't have more tequila.
Nice. So he does he do the same thing most animators do where he does like 4 or 5 voices in the show?
He does a good number of voices, but iconically he does Rick and Morty.
Nice.
Now, Justin Roiland, like if you're hearing Morty's voice and you're like, that sounds really familiar, you might have seen his performance in Adventure Time because he plays Earl of Lemongrab.
That's right. And it's also almost the same voice as Blendon from Gravity Falls.
Benjamin Blandon, yes. From the year 2012.
Yeah.
It's a 7 with the little Enya mark over the Spanish N.
Okay, so it's the like the Spanish one, not like the 19 R&B singer's face pasted over it.
I hate you. I hate you so much. I'm gonna drive 6 hours and punch you in the stomach.
Oh, good. It's the stomach this time. That's good.
Yeah. Anyway. So, going off of the Gravity Falls bit, Justin Roiland and Alex Hirsch, who created Gravity Falls, are like best buds.
Yeah, they are.
Because they went to school together.
That may.
And when they're like, hey, I made this cartoon. And the other guy's like, hey, I also made this cartoon. And they're like, hey, let's reference shit between our 2 shows. And they did. Like in Gravity Falls, there's a portal that sucks up a pen, a pad of paper, and a coffee mug with a question mark on it. There's an episode of Rick and Morty where they open up a bunch of portals, and through one of the portals falls a pen, a pad of paper, and a coffee mug with a question mark on it.
Nice.
It's awesome. And more than that, Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls appears on a screen in the episode of Rick and Morty with Tiny Rick.
Oh, man, I've seen that one. Ah,
Yes.
I missed that.
Yes. So it's a very quick reference. Like, it's very easy to miss. But if you look enough, it's there.
That's why we have DVDs.
And it's... Yes.
Except of Gravity Falls. We don't have DVDs of those.
Disney.
Looking at you, Disney, with that giant stack of money that you're using to buy 20th Century Fox.
You know how you can double the size of that stack of money, Disney? Make Gravity Falls Blu-rays so we can just buy them.
I don't know. Like, that's $64 billion.
Anyway.
So, all right, walk us through the show. What are we working with?
So, we got Rick and Morty. Morty's like just your typical high school kid. He's probably like a freshman or a sophomore. Either way, he's like the underdog character, and he just gets dragged along by Rick, like most of the time against his will. In the very first episode, in the very first scene, Morty is fast asleep in bed, and Rick stumbles in drunk, grabs Morty by the ankle, and just drags him out of bed. It's like, come on, we're going on an adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that basically sets the tone for their whole dynamic,
Yeah.
where Morty just kind of has to learn to roll with the punches here.
Sometimes literally.
So, yeah.
Gotta roll with the sodomy there, Morty.
Yeah. So, sorry, I just remembered another scene.
Way up there.
Yeah. So, it basically portrays a picture of Rick, who is sort of this anti-government sort of fuck you, I do what I want character, and off the surface it seems fun, like, oh hey, here's a guy who just doesn't give a shit. Like, he plays that, like, loose cannon cop off on the edge kind of vibe.
Well, it's more of a Dale Gribble, like, paranoia type feeling.
Well, Rick isn't really paranoid, because the galactic government does, like... the galactic government is actually out together.
Yeah, we find out later.
Yeah. So, it's kind of like if Dale was right the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So... And if you don't get that Dale Gribble reference, you can just you get it. You get the fuck out my house right now.
We talked about King of the Hill. We touched on it.
We did, but come on, if you don't know Dale Gribble,
Yeah.
Pocket Sand.
I was waiting for the pocket sand to come out. Always does.
Yes. So, there's a lot of really great voices. One that I want to point out: Chris Parnell voices the spineless wuss of a father figure. Because of course, it's Chris Parnell.
Yeah, that's kind of what he does.
That poor guy, that poor schmuck. Like, he's just got that voice where it's like, oh, we need somebody who sounds like they would shy away from literally any fight, and the kind of person who could have hot soup spilled in his lap and he'd apologize to the other person.
Oh, hey guys,
Oh, Chris.
how's it going, guys?
So yeah. There is one thing I want to point out, and that is basically what the third season of Rick and Morty, the latest season, did to the fandom. And it basically... Okay, so the third season, they established, is gonna be like the darkest season. And it was. A lot of shit happened. And it was like, it was dark, and it was thoughtful, and like, it really, like, if you don't think about it, it doesn't really affect much, but if you really consider the consequences of shit that goes on, yeah, it gets heavy. Now, this is also where Rick got his most, Rick-ish.
Cynical?
Because he is the type of person who, he knows that he's the smartest man in the universe. And everybody else in the universe knows that he's the smartest man in the universe. So he basically uses that as justification to do whatever the fuck he wants. Now, this has given birth to a faction of the fandom that I call Rick Bags. The insufferable assholes who believe that watching Rick and Morty makes them smarter and gives them license to treat everyone else like shit because, oh, you're not as smart as I am. That means I can do whatever I want. If you think watching a show about a guy who is smart makes you smart, then you're probably also the type of person who will just watch a cake circle in one of those cases in a diner and think that you're a master baker.
Yeah. Not exactly how it works.
So it's given birth to a very confident group of idiots.
Yeah, but those idiots always existed and will always exist, but I mean, it's not good that you specifically
but
give
now
them,
they're like,
because you have intelligence, you can be a jerk.
Yeah. And also, they believe they have the right to harass minimum wage employees over fucking sauce.
Yeah.
Which I got to try that sauce, the Mulan Szechuan sauce. It fucking sucks! It's terrible! It's basically sweet and sour sauce with like a little bit of soy sauce mixed in.
It doesn't sound good.
It's not! And I think McDonald's purposely made it bad just so people would shut the fuck up about it.
Yeah. Gosh, that just blew up in their face.
It really did. Like, okay, so
I didn't think they thought that people would go that far just to try Szechuan sauce. But you view it from the audience's angle. I have to go to my McDonald's to be part of this show. I have to do basically nothing.
Yeah. So that came around because Rick went on this whole rant about getting this Mulan Szechuan McNugget sauce, and I'm still imagining like the kind of world we would be in if he went on a rant about, getting properly funded healthcare.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Justin,
Yeah, right?
Justin Roiland, like if you need a topic of discussion there, buddy.
Justin Roiland, if you could have Rick just go off about free college, that'd be great. If you could just go off and make Rick say that rich Republicans need to be like given electroshock therapy, just a little bit, just a touch, right in their balls.
Term limit sauce.
Turbulent juice. Anyway, I'm off topic again. Anyway, well,
We're not that far off
necessarily.
topic. Go ahead.
Nah. So long as you watch Rick and Morty and you just enjoy it because it's entertaining and you don't think better of yourself because you like it, then good. And actually, I just remembered seeing this one Tumblr post of all things that kind of basically showed like Rick and Morty, like many things such as Clockwork Orange and Breaking Bad and Catcher in the Rye and other things like that, are all very good things. But if you ever meet a guy who says his favorite thing is one of those things, run.
Yeah.
Oh, Fight Club was also in that list.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't know why, like, people get so obsessed about Fight Club. It's a good movie. It's interesting. But when you get that deep into it, there's just nothing good down that hole.
No, there's really not. And just, people who get Tyler Durden tattoos, that really should come with, like, a free round of chemical castration.
There's a thing in a Snow Crash where a character has tattooed on his forehead low self-control. Or no impulse control.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But he has a nuclear bomb hooked up to his heart, so he's a special case.
Okay, so going back to the Rick bags, these are, and I really believe that Justin Roiland kind of saw this coming, because in the first episode of the third season, before Rick goes on this like whole tirade of McNugget sauce, there's this one scene where Morty and his sister Summer are at the Citadel of Ricks, among the Council of Ricks, because, by the way, this whole thing
Multiverse
revolves around the idea of an infinite number of universes all parallel to each other, and there's like a whole buttload of Ricks from alternate dimensions who came together and made the Citadel of Ricks.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of Mortys, but it's, Ricks. So, they're at the Council of Ricks, and they're like, do you denounce your Rick? Because, he's a wanted criminal and everything like that. And Summer is basically like, just, give it up, because you guys are just jealous of my grandpa. And, go ahead and let Morty go. He's already renounced Rick, and do whatever you want with me. So, Summer is the fandom in this scene, where she is basically like, yeah, I'm with Rick. Rick till death. Dick's out till Rick's out.
That was a meme.
Anyway, that was a meme. And Morty basically tells Summer, it's like, no, I never denounced Rick. I just wanted you to have a normal life. And that's something you can't have when Rick's around. He's not a villain, but he definitely shouldn't be your hero. He's more like a demon or a super fucked up god.
Yeah. Like these are characters you shouldn't look up to because of just how wrecked they are, but it's the characters that people in certain situations want to be because they're the people who don't have to care about consequences, who can always work out a way out of a situation.
Exactly. So, yeah, Morty in that scene is Justin Roiland telling Summer, the fandom, that Rick is not someone you should idolize.
Yes.
And for good reason, because Rick is a fucking sociopath. And they bring this up multiple times during that season. Like, at one point, Rick is having an argument with his daughter, Beth, who is Morty and Summer's mother, because, I don't know why I'm explaining
I don't
that.
know.
genealogy for beginners. So she's basically arguing with Rick because, like, oh, dude, you were, like, a total, like, nut job of a kid. You know, that's why I had to do what I did. And it's like, oh, so it's not because you were a bad father. It's like, oh, no. Bad father all the way to the max over here. I'm a fucking nutcase. And the apple drops straight down.
Nice.
So they say that in the tone of a joke. But they're being 100% real with everyone listening. Yeah, Rick's a fucking nutcase. Don't fucking try to be like him just because he, you know, always ends up on top. He's a fucking sociopath with an IQ of like 2,000 probably.
Probably.
Yeah. So, with that, it's a good show. The writing's smart, the animation's really good.
Okay,
and it's funny.
One thing about the animation, they have like asterisks for eyes, but when the camera's panned out to where it usually is, it just looks like dot eyes because that's what it would look like if you were far away. Yeah. I hate the asterisk eyes.
They have like little scribble eyes. It's, I don't know. I kind of dig it as a style.
I get it that it's a style, but it just, the first time I was watching, I was like, what's wrong with these people? Why are they so weird? It's the eyes. What's wrong with your eyes?
So, you know, this is a really good show. I 100% recommend it. I just don't think you should take it seriously. And if you are one of the people who does take it seriously, maybe try something a little mellower to take seriously, like crystal meth.
No. If you watch this show, a good companion piece would be Gravity Falls.
It really would.
Where
it'll balance you out.
Where with this show, you really shouldn't identify with anybody. Nobody wants to be Marty. Nobody wants to be Summer. Everybody wants to be Rick, even though nobody should be Rick. With Gravity Falls,
nobody should be Rick.
With Gravity Falls, pretty much all the characters, if you were to say, yeah, I'm feeling like Seuss today, I'm like, oh, cool. I'm feeling like Stan today. Oh, so no takeout then? Like, you can idolize almost any character in Gravity Falls and be okay. The show is not.
There's also one thing I wanted to point out. So Justin Roiland got together with Alex Hirsch to help raise money for the Texas flood victims during that, hurricane. Yeah. And they got together and they were basically like just doing a radio show for donations. And they ended up raising a bunch of money. But they also did some really awesome stuff where they sang I Got You Babe as a duet as Rick and Grunkle Stan. Nice. Which is awesome. That video's on YouTube, by the way. Go check that out because it's hilarious. There's also a video where Justin Roiland, voicing Rick, crank calls that church of that one guy, Joel Osteen, I guess was his name.
Joel Osteen.
Joel Osteen, dickbag extraordinaire, who's like, oh, I'll just close my church.
Because we're so flooded out.
Church.
No, you're not.
Yeah. There were people taking pictures like, there's a puddle here. Is that a flood, Joel? I'm pretty sure that book you carry around has a handy guide of what constitutes a flood.
That's a good.
I just made that up. I'm pretty proud of that.
You should be.
Yeah. So, there's that. It's a great show. It's a great pair of shows made by two really great guys. Just remember, it's a show. It's not a how-to on living.
Okay, say that again. Don't hit your desk.
Sorry. So, just remember that it's a show. It's not a how-to guide on living.
Yeah.
So, that basically wraps up what I wanted to talk about. And we are almost 20 minutes over time here.
Yeah, there's no overtime in this one. I don't really... there's no overtime here.
There's no overtime. So that basically wraps it up for me.
Yeah.
So let's start with our wrap-ups. Bart, what's your favorite thing about Ready Player One?
Oh man, I should have thought of this. I love the fact that I can read about a reference, look it up, and if I like it, I can grab it and keep it with me. And if I don't like it, I don't have to. I didn't have to look up. The first time I read the book, I had no idea what Black Tiger's gameplay looked at, but looking it up the second time let me see, like, okay, it's this, like, sort of action-y, platformy kind of thing. Or, like, music where I can look up Dead Man's Party by Oingo Boingo, and I can be like, it is a Dead Man's Party. Written by Danny Elfman. Or I can look up, like, other songs and be like, I'm not so hot on this one. Or, like, They Might Be Giants, which led me into this big They Might Be Giants trip. But I just love how much stuff's in there so I can be, like, a collector and, like, pick and choose what I'm now going to listen to. And it's usually mostly pretty good.
So what do you hate about Ready Player One?
2 things. I thought about this week.
All right.
So when he's insulting IROC in the chat room, he calls him a twink. Twinking is another word for being a munchkin. It's a person who's a min-maxer. It's somebody who wants to put in as little effort as possible while getting the maximum results back. And that's kind of the character that he's talking to. That's what he is.
Yeah.
It's also not that.
It's
something very different.
It's a very racist name for a person of Asian descent.
It's not racist. It's just gay slang. It's like calling someone a bear. But yeah, it's not what that word means in modern parlance, so it shouldn't have been in the book to begin with. Second thing, the Japanese character doesn't talk like a Japanese character. Like, because you've been to Japan.
I've
been to Japan.
You've been to Japan.
Yeah. The dude talks, one of the Japanese characters in it talks in, like, whatever the Japanese version of Spanglish is. Yeah. Which you never really got. If somebody's going to try to speak... Japanglish, I guess. But if somebody tries to speak English to you, they pretty much just speak in English. And if you're speaking to them in Japanese, you're pretty much just speaking in Japanese. Like, you walk into the place and you're just like, arigato daimasu. And you, like, go get your, like, soda or whatever and, like, a sandwich off the rack, and then you go to pay for it. And they're like, and you're like, hey. And you just say hi because you don't know what they're saying, and it doesn't matter because they know you don't know what they're saying.
Yep.
But I didn't like how that guy talked, and I didn't like there's one part where Wade's giving him a thing, and he's like, Truvir Man is a great, like, character in Japanese culture. And I'm like, did you really Hepburnize, like, Ultraman? Like, it's clearly, like, in Japanese, it's Ultraman. Like, it's pronounced a kind of weird way because of differences in language, stuff like that. But it's Ultraman. Just say Ultraman. Like,
it's like how in Japan Spider-Man is pronounced Supaida-man.
Yeah, it's just because that's how it's, like, thing. But if you said, it's like waifu. Waifu is the word wife that went to Japan, got corrupted, and came back. I don't know why it came back. Should have stayed there.
And now it just...
Now it means something different.
Fucking weeboos.
I am of them not anymore.
I'm a recovered weeboo. So.
Hi, Pete.
Hi, Bart.
But
where's the coffee and stale donuts?
Yeah, those are my 2 complaints. I don't like how the Japanese character talks, and I do not like him using that word. Just because when I read it, I was like, why are you calling him this? Why are you calling him this? Why are you calling him this? Because he's not. But that's enough about Ready Player One. Pete, Rick and Morty, fantastic success.
Who would you recommend Ready Player One to?
I jumped the gun.
Yeah.
If you grew up in the 1980s, then watch it. Or if you're you know what? If you're anybody, just read the book. Because if you don't like it, you'll be out on, like, chapter 2. Because chapter 1 hooks pretty much everyone. And then chapter 2, he goes on this atheist rant. And then if you're, like, going to drop it, you're going to drop it.
Yeah.
But just check out the book. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, especially if you were around during the 1980s. Because then you get refresher course on, like, oh, I remember this. I remember that. It's like the quantum leap thing I was talking about last week. You just start noticing things that, like, you remember.
Yeah.
All right. So now I can ask my questions. Pete, Rick and Morty, hugely successful cartoon show. What do you love about it?
Okay, there's one thing that really tickles me when I watch Rick and Morty, and yeah, it gets me right in the plumbus.
It's when Rick has to basically fabricate something in a hurry, and pretty much everything he does, like nothing he does is like based in science whatsoever. He basically like grabs 2 vials, mixes them together, pours them on something, zaps it with a laser, and then uses that in a way that you wouldn't expect. I fucking love that shit. Sorry, I hit my desk. I love that shit. I eat it with a spoon. It's great. It's basically like high-speed MacGyver, but it's all done in really fluid motions. It's really fun.
Oh yeah. Another good moment of that is when he's falling through the like Schrodinger's cat space.
Yes. Oh my god. Yes, that's a good one. Key and Peele are in that episode.
They are in that episode. I forgot.
Yeah. Yeah. As fourth dimensional testicle monsters?
Yep.
I believe they're based on the Langoliers.
Yeah. See, you've seen that movie.
At
You've
least
mentioned that
appearance wise, they're based on the Langoliers.
Yeah, I've never watched the Langoliers, but I've heard people talk about them, and the people who talk about it with absolute clarity. Like, I've never heard somebody being like, "Oh, what's the name of that thing? Is it the Langoliers? Is that what it is?" No, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, it's like the Langoliers." Like, perfect clarity. Like, I should know that as much as I know like the Starship Enterprise.
Basically.
So moving on, Pete, what do you hate about Rick and Morty?
There are a lot of things I really don't like about it. But I think the thing I hate most about it is the insufferable Rick bags I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. I get you.
But because that's not really a part of the show, it's a byproduct of the show. So I want to say that the thing I dislike is the episodes that just take an unforeseen dramatic turn and just end on a really bummer note.
Yeah.
And so you're just sitting there like, that's it? Fuck.
Yeah.
So much for feeling joy today.
Yeah. The like second season finale was kind of like that. It was just like, we lost. But maybe that's the end goal. Maybe it's supposed to be like, these are our 2 bummer seasons, and then we're gonna get our 2. Who am I kidding? It's just gonna get worse for me.
Basically.
Moving on. Pete, who's Rick and Morty a good fit for? Who would you say you should watch Rick and Morty to?
Well, let's see. If you like the... Okay. It takes from Back to the Future very lightly, like basically just cosmetically. So if you like sort of time travel comedies, but you also enjoy like a looser feeling of dialogue, sort of like This Is the End. You know, that movie with
Seth
Rogen and Jay Baruchel and all them. Yeah. So basically, if you like a sci-fi movie like that, you'll probably like Rick and Morty. And it's definitely worth a shot. Just give the Interdimensional Cable episode a try.
Yeah.
That's probably like a really good way to like sort of dip your feet into the Rick and Morty universe, because it's not like it doesn't have like a big overarching story. It's basically just, 20 minutes of Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland just fucking with each other for that long.
Yeah,
so
just fun little skits.
It's fun little skits, and so yeah, just give that a try. And if you like it, then give the rest a try. And you'll probably like it.
A good comparison I had to, or that The Simpsons did to Rick and Morty, is the episode where they're taking the kids and they're asking them what they want out of a toy, and they're like, "You want deep, intricate situations with silly cartoon characters?" Like,
It's like, okay, so you want down-to-earth, relatable stories that are completely off the wall and filled with space wizards.
Rick and Morty.
Yeah!
That is Rick and Morty. That is the best explanation.
That is Rick and Morty. That is a very apt explanation.
All right. So is that it?
That wraps us up this week.
Man, that went on for...
And we're only half an hour over our regular time.
Time doesn't matter.
Nothing
All
matters.
right, usual wrap up for the show. Thank you to OK Go for their use of their song Here It Goes Again off the album Oh No, You Know Them, You Don't Know Us. You can catch me on Twitter at BeatPanelComic.
You can catch me on Twitter at PeterKennyArt.
And we both know what we're going to do next week, so I don't even have to ask the question.
Nope. But should we tell them?
Nah, just let the mystery soak in. Because next week's going to be a super special episode.
Yes. So, thanks for tuning in, and check us out next week, because we'll have something special.
Oh, yeah. Bye, Sponch, folks.
Bye, Sponch.